The town of Marana is dedicated to providing 5-star service for all residents, both 2- and 4-legged. Download the Marana Pets app to report a lost pet or upload a photo of a found pet. Start reuniting families today.
Are you ready to accept the Dine and Discover Marana Local Summer Challenge? Support local food and beverage businesses, including restaurants, cafes, food trucks, and more. Track your trips on the challenge card and visit the Marana Visitors Center to earn exclusive Marana merch you'll be proud to wear. What better way to show community pride and support for local businesses? For more information, visit discovermarana.org. Challenge cards will be accepted through August or while supplies last. This program is brought to you by the Marana Chamber of Commerce in partnership with Discover Marana.
Welcome to Real Talk with the Town, where I sit down with the Marana staff to answer your burning questions about our beautiful community. My name is Terry Rozema, and I'm the town manager for the town, so let's get started. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Real Talk with the Town. My name is Terry, and I am the host for the show, and today I have with us a member from the Arizona Department of Transportation, because we're going to be talking about a road project. So today I have Mr. Rod Lane. Rod, why don't you say hello to our listeners?
Hello, Terry, and thank you for inviting me to this. I've been really looking forward to it for quite some time.
Oh, excellent. Looking forward to it. I like it when we got excited guests on the show. So today, Rod, as you know, we talked a little bit about this. We have some people asking questions about what's going on at Orange Grove and I-10. And so I want to read this question from this resident, and this is kind of the basis for why we're even having this show. It says, when are you going to relieve some of the traffic congestion around the Orange Grove Road, Thornydale Road, and Ina Road area that you caused by closing the Orange Grove Road underpass area at I-10, and at the same time closing all roads in the area leading to I-10 Service Road, including Silver Bell Road? You have cut us off completely by scheduling too many projects in the same area. This is bad planning, and we, the people, are suffering for it. So a pretty dynamic, maybe melodramatic statement there, but you know, we all understand construction is a difficult thing, and people get frustrated. So some of that frustration coming out, and we're going to talk about that. But before we do that, Rod, I got an icebreaker for you. Since you are an Arizona Department of Transportation employee, you probably get around the state a little bit. So why don't you tell our listeners, what's your favorite part of Arizona?
Well, one of my favorite parts of Arizona, and I was fortunate enough to be the district engineer for this area for about 2 years, right around from 2011 to 2013. And that was up in the Globe area. And I operated that district, which went all the way from Globe up north into Show Low and up into Eager and up into St. John's. So I got to really spend some time and work in the Salt River Canyon, which is a beautiful spot. And that whole northern country up there, I really fell in love with it. My wife and I went a few weeks ago up camping onto the Blue River, which was way up north, south of Eager, way back into the woods. And I hadn't been there
I've never even heard of that.
20 years or so. Yeah, it's just a beautiful spot. I did a rafting trip probably 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Down that. And it was a lot of fun, and it's a great place. I love Arizona. I've been here for almost 30 years now.
Wow, outstanding. How long you been with ADOT?
I've been with ADOT for about 18 years.
So you got a lot of experience under the belt. That's
yes,
good.
I do.
Because because I got hard-hitting questions for you today. Hard-hitting questions,
right, let
man.
her rip.
We're gonna put you on the spot and put you to the test to see how well you do here. So let's start off by talking a little bit about how ADOT even chooses the projects that they're going to do in any given area.
Okay.
All right. So why the projects that you're doing right now?
So a lot of them come up from various needs. They can be safety needs that have been developing and occurring over time. They could be something that constituents are complaining about. They can be a lot of different reasons why these projects come together, but they all start in what we call the planning process.
Okay.
So when a project comes together, you have to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? and how are we going to fix this issue that's arisen from this. So we started planning, and we look at the issues, and we look at how they can be resolved. And the project that you're talking about specifically, the one that we're doing now, the I-10 Rothroff job, the planning process for that culminated in what we call the design concept report. And that design concept, DCR,
commonly known as
a DCR, a DCR. So that came out of issues developed that were brought to our attention through the region, through the PAG region and such. Also, the town of Marana and the city of Tucson and Pima County brought these projects forward. And we also had many safety issues along I-10 in that area. So the culmination of that...
What were some of those safety issues?
Sure.
I hate to interrupt you, but I don't want our listeners to miss out on that, because I think that's a really key point. Safety is what you guys are all about, right?
Correct.
So you said there were safety issues. So explain so folks really kind of understand what some of those safety issues are.
Sure. So this project culminated in three major projects. The first one was at Rothroff, and they all have common safety issues between them. The main thing being the proximity of the railroad to Interstate 10.
Yeah.
So that poses problems with the cross streets for traffic. It also poses problems with traffic backing up on the interstate. If vehicles are trying to cross that railroad crossing and it's at grade, they back up on the interstate, which is a significant safety problem. You have significant major rear-end collisions and issues like that. So those were the types of problems that we're trying to resolve with this design concept report. And it identified, several major, three major projects that had to be done as part of it. One of them was the Rothroff traffic interchange. One of them was the I-10 Road traffic interchange, and then the section in between it, which included the Orange Grove traffic interchange and the Sunset Road traffic interchange. All of that is all part of it. So we're actually on the third project of that DCR now. We've completed the first two. They've been very successful, and they followed the same model where we closed the interchange that we were rehabbing and diverted traffic to other interchanges that would handle it and move it. And that's the same kind of process that we're going through with this traffic interchange or this project.
Great answer. So clearly, based on everything you just said, this is not done willy-nilly. This isn't done on the back of a napkin. This isn't done, under darkness of night. This is a planning process that's taken place over a long period of time. And so in response to, a citizen who's saying this is very poor planning, what would you say to that? Because, you close down Orange Grove, you close down Silverbell, you close down Sunset. I can't get anywhere. Why did you do all this at the same time? And your response to that would be what?
My response to that would be we did plan this. This is growth. This is growth of the community. This was the best solution that we had. Growth is oftentimes challenging. It's oftentimes challenging to the community. We appreciate everybody's patience that we've gone through this. This is the final third. The community in this region has gone through first the I-10 Road traffic interchange, which was closed, which was a big burden.
That was huge.
They've managed to go through that.
It was a tough 2 years.
Yeah, and they've seen the successes of that. They've gone through the Rothroff project, which again was fully closed.
Beautiful now.
And I like that. I lived off of Rothroff, so I dealt with that every day. And now we're going through the third phase of that, which is for the Orange Grove closure of that project. So yeah, it's a challenge. Understood. We're navigating through it. We appreciate everybody's patience as we navigate through this, and we'll continue to move forward on it. And we'll try to mitigate every issue we can as they come up as much as we can.
Yeah. So I will say, that I think the town and I think all the municipalities would probably attest to this, that the relationship that we have with the Arizona Department of Transportation is a very good relationship. We have a lot of, people at the, engineer levels that have constant communication and are trying to work through problems as they come up. So talk a little bit about this project in terms of how long it's going to take. So people, one thing is people certainly don't like it when the roads aren't as nice as they should be, but then they also don't like the fact that they have to go through the growing pains of road shutdowns. But the shutdown that we're dealing with here, is it a year, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years? What are we looking at? What are we thinking this project's going to take?
So let me kind of walk you through the phasing of how we build one of these projects. So this is a major interstate, huge commerce corridor that goes through not just for the local region, but for the entire state and the country. The amount of industry and the amount of commerce that goes through on its way to California, from Florida to Texas to California, all the way through Arizona, is just tremendous.
Yeah.
So we need to keep this facility operating while we reconstruct it. This is not a modification. This is a full reconstruction. So how we do that is we have determined we need to maintain a minimum of 3 lanes of traffic on I-10 in each direction.
It's amazing how you do that. I am absolutely blown away when I see how you guys divert traffic completely off where it used to drive, and now it's off on the side, and you're doing all this work completely offline. Incredible.
And that goes back to your first question and your first comment, which was the planning stages. 25 years ago, a project that some of your listeners might have been familiar with was the Frontage Road reconstruction project that went through. And you'll note that the existing bridges that are on the Frontage Road now, the ones that go over the CDO and the Rito on both the eastbound and the westbound side of the interstate, they're higher. And you'll also note that the frontage roads were wider. They were constructed that way for this purpose, so that they could handle the traffic today on a temporary condition when we shut down the interstate and move the traffic over. So that's an example of the level of planning that the department puts in to this type of work when we're managing these interstates.
Now that's forethought there.
It was an excellent
25
job.
years ago to think, you know what, we're going to build this amazing frontage road that we'll be able to take all the traffic offline and put it on the frontage road and then build this thing. Fantastic.
It was quite a lot of forethought. So the way that you have to build these things is you either build them in halves or you separate them. So by halves, I mean we would put all the traffic on one frontage road and then one side of the freeway, and then build the other half.
Okay.
Or we would put the traffic on all the frontage roads and build the middle.
That's
what we're doing now.
That's what we're doing right now.
So
you can see that.
You can look at this project as essentially 4 phases. The first phase was constructing all the stuff that would allow us to put the traffic onto the frontage road. The ramps have to be modified. You know, things had to be done. We had to widen things out. We had to modify some drainage structures. All that kind of stuff was phase 1. So that took about a few months to do. And then we were set up to move traffic onto the frontage roads. The next phase is phase 2, which is what we're in now, which is all the traffic is now essentially on the frontage roads, and we are now demolishing and rebuilding mainline I-10. And you see that every day. The bridges are all gone.
Are you Orange Grove, man. That is an amazing amount of work that's being done there right now.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Orange Grove is gone.
It's when you drive through there, it's almost difficult to even like picture what it used to look like.
Yeah.
Right?
So all that work is happening now, and we expect that work to be going through till probably the fall or early winter of 24 is when we expect to be in this phase. Now we'll enter another phase. So we'll put traffic up on the main line because the main line will be completed by then, and then we will work on the ramps. So we'll cut off the access to the frontage road. So you still won't have the same access to the side streets that you had previously because we'll have to be building all of those ramps and such. That's phase 3. Phase 3 is going to go to probably late 2025. Okay? And then we'll be going along with that one is phase 4. But phase 4 is really the continuation of the sunset portion. So that is kind of an independent project of the main line. So once phase 3 gets done, you'll have all access except Sunset.
Let's go to the movies. Marana Parks and Recreation presents the free Movies in Marana series on scheduled Saturdays between April and October. Movies start at sundown. Food vendors will be on site. Don't forget to bring chairs and a blanket. Visit maranaaz.gov/movies for the complete schedule.
Are you splash savvy? In the event of a home drowning, you are the first responder. We'll walk you through the steps so you can prevent further complications until help arrives. Learn more from Marana Lifeguards, Marana Police, and Northwest Fire District at maranaaz.gov/splash savvy. We are first responders against drowning, and we are splash savvy.
Why would you want to work for the town of Marana? Well, let's hear what our employees have to say. I feel like working for the town of Marana makes you feel like a person, not a number.
I really wanted to work for the community where I lived.
I have children that play in the parks.
Working for a public entity, it's kind of a sacred trust. I like that. It's an honor to serve.
The town's mission is to provide 5-star service for a thriving community.
To me, 5-star service comes from within. It's a drive to make your surroundings a better place.
Providing community service like the Founders Day Parade, the swim lessons, clean drinking water.
Of course, the benefits are great.
I get sent to seminars and conferences, and
Town of Marana compensates vacation.
We do have an amazing gym facility, alternate schedules as well. Our employees are also able to telework.
My supervisor in particular really cares about our work-life balance.
My colleagues are fun. It's just a fun place to work.
We have a culture of friendship.
the people in general that work here and apply here all want to make a difference in their everyday life for themselves and for the community.
Let's make an impact on our community. Visit maranaaz.gov/careers and apply now.
Okay, so we're looking at, if I'm doing my math correctly and kind of adding up what you just said, we're looking at probably the end of 2025 before the access on the freeway and the frontage roads and the ramps will be completely, pretty much done.
Yeah, with the exception of Sunset.
With the exception of Sunset,
Yep.
which is a completely separate project.
It is, but it's all being administered the same thing. This was an example of the regional cooperation.
Mm-hmm.
That project was actually a county project.
Okay.
That we all kind of looked and said, we really should be doing this at the same time, taking advantage of the opportunity with the scale of the projects and save some money. So we put the two projects together, bid them with the same contractor, and now we're doing them at the same time with the same contractor, getting that economy of scale with the projects that we hope to gain a little bit of efficiency from that. And that is a great project. What that's going to do is going to take Sunset, it's going to swap them. So it used to be where I-10 went over the Sunset traffic interchange.
Yes.
It's going to switch that now. So Sunset is going to go over I-10, so I-10 is going to drop.
Oh, wow.
It'll go over I-10. It'll go over the railroad. It'll then go over the river, and it will tie into River Road. So it's going to be a whole new connection on the west side of town over there. It's really going to be quite a regional thing when it opens.
That's going to be great. And you know, I heard you talk about, you know, this was really a county project, but you guys have combined forces. So I want you to talk for a little bit for our listeners about the kind of regional cooperation and how that takes place. I mean, how is it that ADOT ends up having conversations with the county and with the city and with Marana about various projects that need to get done that affect both of our jurisdictions?
Well, the best way I can say it is we operate a facility in your neighborhood, in your town. That's really it. You live here, and we have to work with you. This is for you. This is for the region. We have to get regional cooperation to move forward on these projects, because if the region doesn't want it, it's not going to happen.
Right.
That's just the way the system works. So we really work very well together, and the department strives a great deal to keep those relationships moving forward and working together towards a common goal.
So do you think that any of this, you know, that we're doing right now, that we're seeing, the level of inconvenience that, you know, this resident, kind of describes, can any of that, or could any of that have been avoided? Or is this just kind of what happens when you have a project of this magnitude?
I think it happens when you have a project this magnitude. You're going to have impacts. We do our best to mitigate them. We continuously try to improve them. We work a lot with your folks at the town of Marana here to work on signal timings and such to try to get the maximum of efficiency out of them. There's a lot of things that you just can't foresee. Sometimes you dig up things that you didn't know were there. Equipment breaks down. There's all kinds of things that you just can't forecast in construction. We do our best, try to mitigate that, and to try and reduce the impact as much as possible. And that's what we strive for, but it's kind of almost an unattainable goal.
Yeah. So any advice that you would have for our listeners if they got to travel in this area, in the construction area, or getting, around it? Any advice?
Take your time. Give yourself a little bit of extra time to get where you need to go. Be patient, please. I thank you for your patience. I know sometimes it's hard, especially when it's 110, 111 degrees outside and you're sitting there at the light and you're standing there wondering why it hasn't turned green yet. Thank you for your patience. It's hard. I know that. The end result will be worth it. We think it's going to make the community significantly more transportation friendly, and we really appreciate your patience.
Yeah, excellent. So, Rod, you and I have talked in the past about some of the interchanges, and we have a number of them in Marana, and some of them have been completely redone. The Twin Peaks interchange, amazing. The I-10 Road interchange, amazing. People actually absolutely love those facilities. But we have a few of them that are a little bit difficult for people to get through, one of those being Cortero. So, talk to our listeners, not just about Cortero, but about, ADOT's plans for any future projects in the Marana area.
Sure. So there is a DCR that was completed, a design concept report that was completed for the Cortero Road traffic interchange. There was a study that was done prior to that. I think it was probably about the same time, but that includes the Tangerine traffic interchange, which you and I have talked about. And I'm not confident that that's still consistent with the town's direction. Mm-hmm. But that's still out there. Mm-hmm. But the Cortero Road design concept report is in place. So the challenge with ADOT is ADOT prioritizes things on our system, mm-hmm. and we look at the whole system. So we've got a section of I-10 from I-19 south.
Right.
That is the oldest section of I-10 left in the state. Mm-hmm. It's got many significant safety issues out there. And that's where ADOT is concentrating ADOT's desire to move forward and reconstruct that. That might not be what the region wants. Mm-hmm. If the region as a whole says, hey, ADOT, we want you to go up here, we're going to go up there. Mm-hmm. And that's the way we work with that cooperation that we were talking about before. And if the region desires Cortero to move forward, that would be a regional decision. Mm-hmm. And ADOT would march forward and move forward with Cortero.
Yeah. You hit on the safety thing, and I think that has got to be something that's paramount for all of us to be thinking about. And it wasn't just a couple of weeks ago that a freeway, and I forget where it was even now, even what state it was, where the bridge collapsed.
Yeah, that was in Philadelphia.
Yeah. So, this older infrastructure, making sure that we stay on top of that. So, we certainly don't want to see a tragedy like that. So I know you guys are on top of those things and focused on that. So we greatly appreciate that. And, our desire certainly to get people moving is the same desire you guys have, moving people safely and effectively throughout the region. So really appreciate that. Rod, one last thing I want to touch on a little bit here is the RTA, the Regional Transportation Authority. And there's lots of discussions going on right now between the Technical Management Committee group and the Citizens Advisory Committee and the RTA Board. Lots of meetings and discussions about the RTA next. For those who don't know what the RTA is and what it does and what it's done for this region, can you talk a little bit about the current RTA and then transition and talk a little bit about what RTA next could mean for the region?
Sure. So the current RTA was approved in 2006, and it's been going on for 20 years, and it will end in 2026. And we've had the privilege of working with the RTA on several projects. There was RTA funding in the I-10 Road project.
Yes.
There was RTA funding in the Twin Peaks project. Mm-hmm. There was RTA funding in the Ruth Ruff project. There's no RTA funding in this one, but there is RTA funding in the Irvington TI that's currently in design right now. Okay. And we've had that availability and that additional funding for years. And it's really helped spread the ADOT funding out to better serve the regional community. So there's a couple of aspects that I think people might not understand with regard to ADOT's funding and how it works within the PAG region. But I'd like to take a moment and kind of go over.
I would love that, because It took me a while, Rod, to actually get to understand this when I became a town manager. And you were the one that explained it to me. And I finally got it now. At least I think I do. Once I listen to your answer, I'll know for sure. So
feel free to correct me.
Okay. All right. All right.
All right. So the way it works is ADOT is given a pot of money that it can only spend within the PAG region. And that's based on highway user revenue funds that the state gives to the feds, and then the feds give it back. So it's divided into 3 pots. Currently, the way it works, it's divided into 3 pots. The Maricopa County MAG gets 1 chunk. PAG, the PAG region gets another chunk.
So for people who don't know what PAG is, it's the Pima Area Association of Government.
And then the rest of the money goes to what they call Greater Arizona, so the more rural areas of Arizona. So we have a pot that's so big, and it has to be spent within the PAG region. So the way ADOT does it is ADOT makes suggestions. They go to the TMC and the PAG board process, and we make presentations to them. This is the way that we think that it should be. These are the projects that we want to do, and this is why. And
so your list of priorities based on your hierarchy of needs,
exactly.
Right? Safety probably being one of the foremost, and transportation, efficiency, and those kinds of things.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Correct. And then the PAG regional board makes the decision of whether to approve that. So they approve the process and the projects. It's not PAG, or it's not ADOT that makes the final determination of what projects they are. They go to the PAG board. The PAG board makes that determination. And then it goes to the state transportation board, which accepts the PAG's board's decision. That's what's done at the state level. So that's kind of how it works.
So there's like this checks and balances kind of thing. There's recommendations coming from here. There's approval coming from this group. Goes back to the state. So there's kind of this checks and balances thing to make sure that everybody's going to be on the same page, and we're doing what's best for the region.
The region, correct. Correct. So that's kind of a vital thing that I think everybody needs to understand, that funding and the allocation of that funding is a regional decision. It's not an ADOT decision.
Yeah. I think that's a huge thing, and it was one of those light bulb moments. It took me a while, and I'm not very smart, so I had to listen to people like you, like these engineer types, explain these things to me so that I could get it, and I finally get it now. So I think it's probably safe to say, I don't think you would disagree with this, that there's some major projects in this region that would not have been done were it not for RTA.
I will agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's because the pot is only so big.
Right.
So the inclusion of RTA funding allowed us to do more projects and to spread the load even more, which is why we're having this big discussion with RTA Next. So if the RTA funding ends in 2026, this next step, the RTA Next, is to extend it for another 20 years. And what projects are going to go in there. And that's the discussions that we're having now. You and I both have those discussions on the Technical Management Committee. Right. And they're having those discussions in the opposite in the Citizens Advisory Committee. And then that will go up to the PAG board to make a decision on where the funding will go and what projects they will go in RTA Next.
Yeah, and for some of the people in the town of Marana, some of the projects that are on the list include Cortero and I-10.
Correct.
Include Tangerine and I-10. Those are projects that could potentially be on the RTA Next. And the funding, if RTA Next isn't passed by the voters, right, because they're passing essentially, correct me if I'm wrong here, Rod, but they're passing essentially the ability for a tax, a half-cent tax, that will help to pay for all of this transportation.
And that's the way I understand it. So those would be. I wouldn't say that they projects would not be constructed, but again, the pot gets smaller.
Right.
So the needs, we have to adjust for the needs and the funding that's available.
So it might be a longer time.
Exactly.
It might take a back seat to other projects and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
Well, good. I think that's helpful because this whole issue of RTA Next will come before the voters here. Probably within a year or so for them to approve that or not. And we're certainly hoping that they do approve it because it does mean a lot of road projects will get funded through that. So any last comments, remarks, or things you'd like to say here, Rod?
Thanks again, Terry. I get the opportunity to talk geeky engineering stuff with you. I really love that.
What's surprising to me is I actually love it, Rod.
I've been in this transportation game in this town for quite a while, and I really love it. I really enjoy the camaraderie. And, transportation, it's like a utility. People don't realize it until they don't have it.
Right.
And then they need it, and they wonder where it's happened. And that's something that we really have to get people to understand, that it just doesn't show up out of nowhere. It's you have to participate in it, you have to desire it, and we have to figure out how to pay for it and how to get it developed as we move forward. I think I'd like to again thank everybody for their patience. I know it's not easy going through these construction projects. I've been doing this for a long time, and we get these complaints a lot. And really, it's just a matter of communicating with us and asking these questions, and we'll do our darndest to explain to you why we do it, how we got here, how long it's going to take, and so on. And thank you as we move forward. We appreciate you, Terry, and how you were working with us in the town of Marana on several of these issues and navigating through all the problems. So, again, thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. Thanks, Rod. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you to all of our listeners for joining us once again. Until next time. Submit your questions by visiting maranaaz.gov/realtalk, and we'll answer them right here. To receive notifications for new releases, remember to click subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Also, please follow the town on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date on current news and events.